So Kyrie Irving, who plays for the Brooklyn Nets, New Jersey Nets songs better though. But anyhow, Brooklyn Nets. Based on my understanding, he posted a link, right? But what I keep hearing people saying, he say something.
Because unless they're referring to what he said in the press conference when he was asked about it, then he didn't say anything. He never said anything that anybody could construe anything to be controversial, but as far as I'm aware, there was nothing controversial about what he said, other than the fact that they found it was not conciliatory. Most of them are just misspeaking by saying he said anti-Semitic things, right? Which we will get to, and the reason why that is happening is something I will get to in a minute.
Right. So, because I think that's kind of confusing. But I think the only thing that's confusing, as far as I knew, he posted the link, and right, and
to a movie that was based on a book,
or a documentary, or if you want to call it.
Well, it's a documentary movie, and it was based on a book that came out not too long before the movie was made.
Yeah, right. And so they reach the point. Well, you had to fill them in on the press conference part of it. What was asked and what was said in the press conference that you could go ahead and touch on, and let me see if I find the thing with the.
Well, nothing was okay. He was asked, and he kept insisting that he didn't harbor any hatred for any group of people. He kept insisting that the reason why he posted it was because he was trying to get he was trying to connect to his heritage. His actual words were he wanted to know if there were any documentaries on Yahweh, so he typed it in on Amazon streaming service. The movie came up. I can't remember if he said he watched it before he posted it, or he just read the synopsis. But either he watched it or he read the synopsis, and then he decided, well, listen, he felt this was something that he wanted to share with his audience, with his followers, and that was that. And the press conference, the journalist kept asking him, if he was aware of the anti-Semitic elements, and he kept saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Did I do something illegal? I posted a video, a link to a movie that's publicly available on a streaming platform. What did I do? That was the first press conference. And then the second one, where he kind of offered a slight apology. He said, because I think that's why I'm not sure if he said he watched it first, because when he came back, when they asked him again, this was when they kind of, I think they caught him in the training facility, and this was speaking to him, and he kind of mentioned that he was sorry about some of the falsehoods, and he said, I take full responsibility for posting it, and he said, the reporter asked him, what was wrong with what you posted, and he said, I came to realize that there was some kind of harsh criticisms of Jewish people, and there were some falsehoods, right? And then he kept asking, so are you going to apologize? He's like, I take full responsibility. He kept saying, I take full responsibility, not saying he apologized. And then really eventually put a statement saying he apologized. That on Instagram, I think it was, where he apologized.
Right. And even though after the apology, they apparently saying that he has these 6 terms complete.
Yes. Well, six things he needs to do before he would be allowed to play again.
Right, which is apologize and condemn the movie.
Yeah.
A $500,000 donation to the anti-hate causes, sensitivity training, anti-Semitic training, meeting with ADL, Jewish leaders, meeting with Joe, whoever that is. Joe Tsai. To demonstrate understanding.
Yeah. Joe Tsai is the owner of the Nets.
Right.
Yeah. Wait, you want my...
Well, I mean, first of all, I surprised he chant them way at the beginning. He's a kind of madman and he own that way. And when they come to him with this kind of thing, you're like, what's all yeah. But the thing is, these things so kind of popular now. It's not like you say F all and get an next basketball job just like that.
Yeah. He would be persona non grata in the NBA. I don't know if we come back to Kyrie Irving, but you know about Ime Udoka, the situation.
Well, I see some other team was interested in hiring.
Right, the Brooklyn Nets, they fired Steve Nash.
Right.
And they were saying that Ime Udoka is in line to take over. And people fighting now. There's the same stupid girl on ESPN who's be playing Miss Champion Feminist. She essentially is on a campaign at this point to make sure to pressure the Nets into not doing that. And I watched a video today where the NBA rumor circle kind of making it clear that there are powerful voices pressuring the Nets into don't do that. So imagine if they would do that for him, and we don't even know what he did, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We don't even know what he did, much less Kyrie Irving. Any team that wants to take him, if he Nets terminate his contract, any team that wants to take him is going to be in real problems. Now, if it was the NFL, you would get away with it.
Yeah.
Because the NFL has a different fan base. The teams are based in different places. The NBA is a very urban kind of sport, So he might get away with it in the NFL, but in the NBA, he would be persona non grata.
Yeah, I realize the NBA, there's real study pop culture before the sport now. Yeah. And in the NFL, there's real put the sport before pop culture. And I guess that's why Colin Kaepernick, it had the drama with Colin Kaepernick now. Because, dog, me care who you want to kneel down for. Yeah. I mean care about what you want to, your agenda. Right? We were a sport player and playing a certain manner and show us that I want to respect the sport. And the country, whatever the case may be. So you and your pop culture thing is your that. Whereas in the NBA,
they embrace it full on. No, I mean the NFL does try to pander to these groups and so they do a little bit. They do that, and some NFL fans will say they do way too much. But the sport is just a different sport, and it has a generally different fan base. And so the NBA is definitely trying to position itself as the wokest of sports leagues. On this occasion, though, I think they may be making a misstep.
Seriously?
Yes. Because I don't think they understand, because all that you see is fake. None of it is real. None of them care about any causes. They don't care about black people. They don't care about equality. They don't care about nothing. They're just doing whatever they think will make their league more popular. They have the sport is a more urban sport, so it has a more leftist, Democrat, whatever kind of fan base. So they think that, embracing those things will make the sport more popular. But they don't give a shit about anything. That's why they can't read the situation properly, because they are getting a lot of backlash. Or online, there are a lot of people who are not happy about this at all.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I've seen a lot of people standing with Kyrie.
A lot of black people, because you see, again, because they're not reading the situation properly, because they don't actually know. And there's why, and I earlier alluded to the fact that, when you said that people keep saying he said this and he said that, because a lot of people don't even know what happened.
Right.
They just the situation is being framed as him doing something that was anti-Semitic. So when people are asked, are you going to defend Kyrie Irving? And if he did something that was anti-Semitic, then no. But if you ask Kyrie Irving, he wouldn't say he did something that was anti-Semitic. He would say he did something that was pro-black. He promoted and this is why, when I was telling you, when you messaged me about it, that with Shaq and Barkley, and especially Shaq and Barkley in particular, I mean, I'm not excusing them. I'm not excusing the way they talk about Kyrie Irving. And if you're on TV, you should know about what you're talking about. But the main reason they're doing that is they're not even taking time to consider what Kyrie Irving said, And it's partly because of who Kyrie Irving is too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't like him because they think he's just a troublemaker.
Yeah, he's problematic.
Yeah, and he's just a pest, and he don't really believe in it. He thinks he just like to be a contrarian.
And I think what it is, they kind of lump him. They lump him in with Kanye and Oli Bakana going on now.
Right, and they think, well, that is what he doing this for, and you understand? So there's a lot of people who don't know what he did or care what he did really. They're just hearing, well, he do some shit, and he does always do shit, and he does always just want to go against whatever the people tell him to do. He like a little child. He have a problem problem with authority. So they just hear that and they run with it. Because, okay, Kyrie Irving, when asked, he explained why he felt the movie was one that... And bear a lot of things in mind here. That movie is still available on Amazon as far as I'm aware, right? So how could you... Could it really be beyond the pale for somebody to feel it was okay to post a video that was available on... he didn't post a link from the dark web.
Yeah, I'm going to say from the dark web. Yeah.
Or he didn't pull it from 4chan. You understand what I'm saying? So it is... Somebody found it was okay enough to have it on a streaming platform. I don't know how true this is, but I'm seeing it reported widely that it was shown in one of the cinemas that Shaq happens to own along with some other business partners, right? So it was premiered in a cinema, right? So, and he would have felt that the overall message, I never investigated this thing, but I've been aware of the Black Hebrew Israelites and their theory that Jews, robbed African people of their rightful place as God's chosen people, and blah 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 blah. Remember the Covington situation with the boy who the children who was at some pro-life march and some Indian man walk up to them beating a drum and they caught a picture of the white boy staring him down. He had sued CNN for a big set of money. There's some school called Covington Catholic School or something, and he was and what happened? He ended up suing CNN and they settled outside of court for some big set of money because they defamed him. They made it look like he was antagonizing the native Indian fella. But when you saw the whole video, which the news companies would have obviously have gotten, you saw that they were standing there doing their thing, and the guy with the drum came beating it in their faces, and that is when he stood up and was watching them now. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that that whole thing happened because there was a group called the Black Hebrew Israelites who were there antagonizing the children before, right? Now, those same individuals who preach that idea that Jewish people, that who we call Jews now are not actually rightful Jews and so on and so forth. So this is something that has existed for a long time, right? It's a theory I've heard about since I was a child. I've never investigated it, so I don't know whether it's true, false, indifferent. But
actually, I think in my biblical research, I think that's what we
right. I have a partner
who
who calls himself a Jew, right? Black like me, he from Grenada, but he's living in Trinidad, right? Considers himself a Jew because he's one of them. He subscribes to that belief.
That Jewish job, yes.
Right? So he does talk that as well. Again, I've never independently researched this because I'm not a religious person, so I don't really care. But Kyrie thought, okay, this is something that a lot of people believe, and he felt it's shining light on Black people's story.
Right, a different perspective from what we are.
And that's why he shared it. So he had the right to do that. Now, if you want to say, well, Kyrie, I don't know if you knew, but there were some things in that video, in that movie that are a little bit... Now, all I keep hearing is anti-Semitic tropes. A trope doesn't mean it's untrue, eh? To be fair. Now, again, I don't know if it's true or false, but the point is, they keep saying, it had falsehoods and anti-Semitic tropes. Fahrenheit 9/11 is filled with anti-government tropes, and a lot of people feel that there are falsehoods contained in them. Okay, but if you post Fahrenheit 9/11 to tell people to go and watch it, people should crucify you. If you want to say, well, listen, that movie are real bullshit in it, okay, well, we could talk about that. And then when they asked him and he said, well, yeah, there was some elements of it.
Oh, there are a lot of things every day that people are supposed to have falsehoods in.
And hurtful to people, to certain groups of people.
Because we now watch people stop people's livelihood. People fire people for not taking a choke.
A job.
Right? And people telling people that this was going to stop.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Spread.
Right.
And wasn't.
Right.
Or we didn't know.
Right. They couldn't have known that.
Right.
They couldn't have known that.
That's a falsehood that real people push.
Right.
And okay, if then you didn't find out, but no.
Right.
Are we condemning people now for that?
I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
But this excuse that is always used what they didn't know. But when people were trying to show you, because it wasn't long before it was clear that they were largely jabbed populations, the thing was still spreading, and they didn't want to hear it. You didn't want to. You didn't pause. You didn't mash up brakes and say, "Oh, maybe I should adjust." No. You just kept parroting the same thing over and over. So, but yes, those were falsehoods. People suffered as a result of it. And like I said, almost any documentary that is produced is told from a point of view.
Yeah.
And that point of view would always be could be okay. There's a book called Stolen Legacy, right? Written by a guy called George G.M. James. Read it when I was very young. Interesting book. It basically talks about how Europeans, through colonization and other dehumanization tactics, robbed black people of their heritage, right? And took credit for many African inventions and many African concepts. Now, the book is basically an anti-white book, right? Because it paints as the enemy or as the perpetrator of these acts white people. So should that book be banned because it's white people say, well, in it contain a lot of anti-white tropes.
The thing is, I know you don't really follow up on the YouTube thing and thing, right? But the thumbnail for the YouTube video where we spoke on the Kanye West thing, right? Here what the thumbnail said. Anti-white, good. Anti-Jew, bad. That's the thumbnail I did now.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
Because at the end of the day...
problematic there.
Well, I mean, we'll see how it go. Because the thing is, we have heard so much anti-white things, especially in the last few... Us, we know black prominent people who say all white people bad. It will have no good white people.
Yeah, evil, devils.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We hear that for however long.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Till white people started saying something about white people. Right?
Yeah.
And that was okay.
Right.
It was fine. Nobody's calling out anybody on it. Everybody was accepting it.
Right. Whether it was true whether it was an exaggeration, whether it was a mischaracterization, didn't matter. Right? The point is, we all agree white people evil. Right? Cool. No problem. But then when it comes to this group now, there's any sentiment that upsets you. But I don't want to even stray into that. I want to keep on the point that if Kyrie Irving had posted a picture or a link to buy the book Stolen Legacy, should he be under fire now because white people could say, hey, that's pushing anti-white racism? Because he is saying to you, I don't hate you. I didn't post it. I was posting something to uplift my people. Okay? If there are issues in the book, that if there are things in the book you take issue with, no problem. For that, I take responsibility. But first of all, I didn't produce the book. I didn't make the documentary. Right? I didn't make the documentary. And I posted it to promote what I felt was black empowerment. Now, if the situation was being framed like that, then all those clowns on the TV who threw him under the bus wouldn't be doing that. Because then they wouldn't want to look like they're fighting the black man. Right? They wouldn't do that. But because and this is why it's so important, you see the power to frame the narrative, bro.
Yeah.
That does wonders,
Yeah.
Because once this is continuously framed as an act of anti-Semitism, then what NBA contributor or analyst on ESPN is going to say? Okay, well, now I stand up with Kyrie Irving full 100. No. They're not going to do that because it's being framed to them as in only one way. Nobody, and that's why the misreading the situation so bad. Because
the thing is, doesn't these fellas have access to Kyrie Irving? Like, we talking about off air, we talking about... Wasn't them fellas can pick up the phone and call Kyrie and like, tell me how early went on there. I was like...
Well... I don't know if he'll answer the phone to many of them, especially people like Shaq and Charles Barkley. I would think he would, because they have been washing them out on him for a long time, from the start with the jab thing. Yeah. And that's as I say, and there's another thing, a lot of people harboring hate for him in particular because of the jab situation. So as I say, in their minds, he's just another clown. He's just a clown looking for attention.
As Shaq would be an idiot.
Right. And Charles Barkley call him an idiot too. Yeah.
Good boy.
Both of them call him in the same segment. And they don't take him seriously. So they will just dismiss what he's saying, and Shaq saying, "Oh, he thinks he's conscious, but I don't think he's conscious. He's just an idiot." But do you know what he's talking about? Do you know what that? Did any of them watch the film? Know what the film? Again, I'm not defending the film. I never watched the film, and I don't know if any of those things contained in the film are actually accurate historically, or if
I think plenty people wouldn't know. I think plenty people wouldn't know.
My thing is, so when we can't even discuss that idea, that theory, which a lot of people believe, how are we going to operate as a society? So what happens to all the black people who believe that, the Jews did, who we know as the Jews now committed this act of theft, essentially, to steal black people's heritage? There are a whole lot of people who believe it, whether you like it or not, right? So how are we going to deal with that? How are we going to deal with that? We're just not going to have a conversation about it at all?
No, if they're not any cool kids, then they'll get pushed aside. They'll get pushed out.
You understand?
That's what it is. If they do have a platform to shape a narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
Just push out the other thing, push out
exactly. So there are two sides to the story. Kyrie Irving would say he posted something that was, to promote awareness of black heritage and black culture, African American in particular, heritage and culture. The other side thinks he posted something anti-Semitic. Okay, fine. The idea that there are two sides is not a problem, but why his side is... Nobody's given his side any amplification at all. So what kind of world we live in?
And my thing is, listen, even if you feel like you don't want to give his side any credence, that's fine, But condemning him for having a different perspective or a different view is wild.
And only choosing to see it as promoting hate. Because that's what you're doing. You are saying, and you're making it clear, no, there's no argument here. He was promoting hate.
Yeah.
But there's a very valid discussion to be had about what it is he was doing.
And the price he had to pay for having a perspective, that is wild.
Bro, listen, I'm not surprised if he eventually is forced to retire, or they terminate his contract and people don't kick up a fuss. I would be disappointed but not surprised, right? Because again, all that you see is fake. All of the virtue signaling, all of the people pretend to be against hate and equality and black consciousness, all of them are just fake, right? Because none of them are really committed to any of these causes, and you see it in their behavior. But when you look at what they're doing to Kyrie Irving right now, the fact that we are okay with this shows what... I should say we are, because as I say, there are a lot of people on the internet who are like, nah, fuck this shit. This is this damn shit. But if this goes down the way it goes down, and everybody just kind of moves on, and people continue watching the NBA, and then we really show what we are as a society, because what they're doing to Kyrie Irving has nothing to do with hate or bringing harmony amongst, racial and ethnic groups. It is purely about control and punishment. They are trying to embarrass him. The Americans using this term buck break, which is like when they would beat slaves to until they took on the master, the slave master's name, like the whole scene in Roots with Kunta Kinte. Yeah. Right. That's a term they use to describe that kind of thing. They're trying to buck break here. But where they use that term or not, the point is they are making a spectacle of him, an example of him. Dog, we are tolerating bullshit that the Israeli ambassador to the United States said that he's glad to see that Kyrie Irving has been put in his place, Put in his place. He used those words, Put in his place. What other situation we'd have condoned a Caucasian person speaking in that manner about a black man? Forget what he did, because nobody really believes he's anti-Semitic, right? Nobody believes that. They're just trying to say, well, what you did was stupid. Okay, fine, but he deserves to be disrespected as a man because of that. So this is an ambassador, bro.
And we talking about, taking away from the man earning, the man living.
Nah, that's not even, that's small thing. Look, listen. if the Nets had said, listen, you did this bullshit, we fining you, we suspending you, and 6 games, 10 games, 12, the rest of the season, wherever, no pay, wherever. Okay, fine. Then that is punishment for a crime.
Right.
But now you don't just want, you're not just punishing him. You want to publicly embarrass him. So that's the problem I have.
You see, the thing is, I understand the public embarrassment is one thing, but I think when they start to touch a man, money too, boy.
Yeah, but that's happening all the time. People get cancelled all the time.
No, but I mean, to touch your money when you do nothing bad. Because if you do something that's bad, like you just say, you cuff somebody in the face on the court, right?
Yeah.
And that's the price you have to pay. That's understandable.
Well, I mean, but Colin Kaepernick could say the same thing. All he did was kneel. He never do anything to cuff nobody. All he did was offend people. And for that reason, well, some would argue that's not why he's not in the league. But let's take it as a given that that's why he's not in the league, right? He just offended people. People get cancelled all the time for offending people. People lose their jobs on shows that they're doing. You know? So what I'm saying is, okay, let me see if I can make the point a little bit better. In our society, we don't make murderers condemn their actions. We don't even make them admit to the fact that they committed a murder. If you commit a murder, and let's say you didn't get life imprisonment, you get 20 years, you don't have to come out and publicly, disown your actions and condemn your actions before we let you out. We say, you committed murder, you do your time, you come out. Because it's simply about punishment for the act. Right? You don't make the person...
Yeah, you don't want to, you have to go and meet with the family.
Right, you have to go and
meet with the family.
Publicly, and then it's your public... No, you don't do that. So, we're going to do that with a player for... this particular situation.
Well, I think they would say, I would think they would say they're trying to capitalize on his popularity. I think well, because obviously that's what a lot of people are saying, right? Because of who he is, and when they say they want to make an example, it's because making an example of somebody who's nobody wouldn't mean anything. Yeah. So you're trying to make an example of somebody who is somebody.
But the point I'm making is the fact that we seem to be okay with that. We feel that that's okay for the modus operandi to be that, yes, that's what we should do. We are co-signing that, yeah. This in our society, this is what we do when people make mistakes. We publicly embarrass them. Because my thing is, what is the purpose of this? If you don't believe he's anti-Semitic, then, well, first of all, sorry. If you believe he's anti-Semitic, then there should be no redemption. Right? If you believe Kyrie Irving is be all and end all, below all of these antics, he's really just an anti-Semite, then the Brooklyn Nets should say we're done.
Yeah, it don't make a difference. Because he could go and do all that and still have anti-Semitic feelings in his heart. Right? Unless at the end of it, the 7th one is to reprogram his brain.
Exactly. Unless you're hooking him up to a computer and you're reprogramming his brain, then you are still essentially working with an anti-Semite. So you shouldn't want... So if you believe he is, then you should terminate the contract. End of story. And if you don't believe he is and he just made a mistake, then what the fuck is all of this about? What if you don't believe he is, then why are you putting him in training? Why are you sitting him in? Why are you demanding that he sit in front of anybody and show any understanding? You understand what I'm saying? When did this become the way that we deal with these issues? Because we've had cancellations before. We've had people who've said offensive things and...
Well, they will say, look, now we have cancellation with redemption. You give it that opportunity now.
But there's not even redemption, bro. This is simply a contractual issue. They have to give him those avenues, because if they don't give him avenues, then he could legally sue them for his money. But so that's the only reason these things are being placed there. But this gives them now an opportunity to, as I say, publicly embarrass the man. And what is the purpose of that?
I think so. And yes, see, I got to mention your brethren, dog. And I ain't hear him talk about it yet, Andrew Tate. Because that's what Andrew Tate is be saying. That is exactly what he's saying. That's what they want to break men. Yeah. Any man who seems strong and seems to have a mind of his own, or whatever, that is the man they want to break out here now.
Yeah, and I think his arrogance is what irritates them, right? And because he has a lot of money, he can't really be bullied, right? So like you couldn't bully him with the jab because it's like, all right, you can't play, well, no, you can't play. No, in those, I don't think in that instance they were able to duck his pay because there would be an issue with trying to impose a new term into his contract after he signed it, right? So they probably had to pay him when he was sitting out them games. I'm not sure, but even if they weren't paying him, he was prepared to be like, all right, fuck that, I'm not playing because he has enough money to, for it to not harm his lifestyle, in a significant way. And they know that. So I was like, no.
No, yeah, I think is the bigger question at this point. So if he doesn't do this, contract done, right? But if he does this, do you think, and when I say asking you this and them, do you think you could get the same effort out of a player after you force him down this road, boy?
No. Well, you don't do any favors for the team chemistry. You don't do any favors for his morale playing the sport. So, but I mean, to be fair, I think they want to get rid of him badly. Anyway, because they think he's problematic outside of that. And to be fair, listen, they might be right. He might be more. The juice might be worth the squeeze when it comes to Kyrie Irving, right? Because he is a strange fella. And as a Celtics fan, as I always say, he didn't really help the chemistry at the Celtics when he was there. And the only time the time when he was the most effective was when he signed up next to LeBron, right? People thought they could replicate that, putting him next to Kevin Durant. But I think people overestimate what Kevin Durant is as a player. So I think the Nets want to get rid of him anyway. And this might probably be the best way for them to do it. But if he does do all those things, of course he can't come back as the same player. Of course he can't come back and be the same.
So the thing is to them,
he'll be very resentful of the people he works for.
For them, it don't matter whether a win-win for them.
Yes. I think they want to get rid of him. Now, I'm saying they want to get rid of him. I don't mean that they 100% in favor of that. But I think it's kind of one of them situations where, well, if he leaves, bro, we could see the bright side. Because the problem is if he goes, then the whole project kind of mash up there because Kevin Durant, who wanted to leave in the summer, didn't get a chance. He'll definitely leave once Kyrie Irving gone. So it means all those trades, all those picks you traded, all that money you spent, all that, they'll just go completely down the drain once he goes. But I think they will definitely see the upside once he leaves because he's probably coming to the arena every day or the training facility. I'm like, God, brother, with this man. What will be his issue now? A mosquito biting me don't want to work? Why you don't want to come play basketball today? So they probably think he's a headache. So, but he definitely won't be the same player once he come back.
And well, yeah. So, I mean, I think that is what we're gonna see moving forward from all these people breaking people once they have the opportunity to, right? Because I mean, let's be real, that's kind of what they do with Kanye. And I mean, it could be argued whether it was deserving or not, right? With Kanye, I still waiting to see how everything plays off with Kanye.
But listen, the Kanye thing I could understand in a sense that when I say I could understand, I don't agree with it. But what I mean is that's normal. You say something wild and crazy.
Yeah.
A brand, I mean, Adidas could. I'm not saying Adidas, fire for that. I'm from Trinidad. Adidas. Adidas could say, well, whether I agree with you, whether I do agree, whether my CEO is Jewish or not, you kind of hot right now, dog. I don't really want your name associated with my brand. I mean, banks closing his account and things. That's but that's happened before to people who've said things that,
I mean, they do, Andrew did that too.
Right, but they did many people before them, right? So, but yeah, that could be one of the extreme elements. But in general, brands dropping him or terminating the association with him, that's expected because you say something that stood up a hornet's nest.
No, and I say that it could be debated because some people, say, well, it's true, and so that's why they shouldn't get on to whatever. That's debatable.
But I could understand if I was, let me say, I had a brand. I would be because with my constitution, I would want to stand up for people's right to express themselves. So I wouldn't want to back down. But I could understand if I have a brand, and because I didn't hire Kanye because he's my friend. I hire him because he helps me to sell units.
Yeah.
And if I feel like you're no longer helping me to sell units, you're hurting my sales, I have no choice but to discontinue my so I could kind of understand that. That don't necessarily have to come with me agreeing or disagreeing with what they said. It's just, well, at this point, you aren't helping me make sales, and that's what I pay you for. I didn't pay you because he's my friend. Now, if we're talking about your friends, like your friends in the hip hop community or whatever, them disassociating themselves from you, well, that's a different story because them had nothing to lose. You know what I mean? But I could understand a brand saying, even if they say, well, I agree with what you're saying, dog.
But yeah,
but
we ain't taking all the heat right now. But the point I'm making is, I think where is he coming out of the Kanye situation, and then this is because I think if the whole Kanye situation didn't happen, right, or didn't get as big as it did, this would not it wouldn't have reached here in a way.
Right.
And so I think it could continue to see things going in that direction now. So if he happens to go through the 6-step process and do whatever, I think you're going to see more people being attacked like in the same manner now. Ones who they could.
Well, the thing is now is if people, because what they're doing this to do is to put everybody back in line, to put in particular black people back in line. This is where you belong, bro. Because the thing is, white people being or expressing saying things that could be deemed anti-Semitic, that has always been unacceptable, right? But I think what they're fearful of is that because of the whole what is called again? The hierarchy of oppression into something. They have a term for it, where intersectionality, right? Where you have to compare whose oppression, right?
Yeah.
I think they have a fear of black people in particular speaking out, because that's not a group that's easy to. They could get away with things that white people can't get away with.
Right,
well,
yeah.
I should say we could get away with things. But in the States, I should say, the black people over there, they could get away with things that white people can't get away with, right? When it comes to talking about them, because which is why it's so surprising that they could talk like, they could say things like, put your back in your place, and because in today's day and age, that's not supposed to fly. Somebody's supposed to be like, yo, there's a black man that No, people are doing that, just not in the mainstream, right? People doing it all over the internet. You saw Dr. Umar Johnson.
Our long thing he did. In a kind of orange, a camo orange.
Yeah.
What you holding? Yeah.
You can imagine him going off on these kind of situations, right? But normally in today's world, in how the world is now, normally when black people pull the race card, it's like, all right, everybody had to calm down. Once he started with the, because remember, Kyrie, I know you say you didn't see his statements in the media, but he kept keeping it there, like, as a black man who's going through this and who's going through that. And we was asked in the second interview he did with the reporter, he was like, where were you when my people were going through 300 years? Blah, 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 blah. He tried to coat, but it ain't helping him at all, brother, man. And again, that goes to show the power that is wielded in this particular situation.
Well, so I think I understand what you're saying now. So tell me if I clear on what you're saying. Is a situation where we have two sets of oppressed people, but just so, and the white people on the other hand, you have to choose now, and you don't want the Jays to seem more oppressed or to.
Well, what I think is the Jews. I mean, use no weird name because I might say that even more insulting, right? I think what the Jews are not willing to have happen is they don't want black people to begin to use that privilege, that oppression privilege now, to start to attack them in ways that other people can't.
Right.
White people can't do that because white people are the top of the food chain. You know what I mean? And we don't accept any kind of racism from them at all. From the time them start, shut that down one time. But black people being oppressed in the same way that women tend to do this thing where whenever they can't, some women like to pull the woman card whenever they're being challenged, and they start to, instead of saying they're challenged, they start to say they're attacked, and you know what I mean. So black people can do that, and they have been doing that in recent times, right? That's become a kind of a trope, right? And I think that they are afraid that with black people having that shield now of that black privilege of being able to call out certain behaviors and deflect the criticism, the blowback, because hey, are you what are you trying to do? You're trying to hold down a black. And as I said, that's why it's so surprising that in this situation, nobody in the mainstream is saying.
I think the mainstream right now between a rock and a hard place, technically. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I think they will go on the side where the money is.
Of course, yes. Of course they will. And because the other side of the story is not reaching to them, they can't change their position. Because remember, all these people, all them people on TV, they just go in wherever the popular, where they feel the popular opinion is, right? You had people defending looting and all sorts of craziness going on during George Floyd riots, right? Because why? That was the cool kid thing to do. It was the cool kid thing to be on that team. So people who would normally, if protesters came and mash up their window, they'd be like, what the fuck? But because, they sense that they would get a round of applause for it on social media, they will come up and make excuses and apologize and say,
we understand is the oppression and
right.
Riots and thing is the voice of the
unheard, right? Right, precisely. None of those people are saying in this instance, listen, I don't condone anti-Semitism and I don't condone the hatred of anybody. But I think we can't discount the fact that Kyrie Irving was, in his mind he was trying to promote, black empowerment. He was trying to help his people find out more about their heritage. We're not going to talk about that at all. We're going to say a man doesn't have a right to do that? Fuck is wrong with you? Nobody's saying that. Because that narrative is not getting to them. And the powers that be are making sure that all of them stay in the bubble and that they have no idea that the general public out there is feeling differently, especially black people.
Well, I think in this day and age, this was to know that. I think because I saw people tweeting, real people probably tweeting at Shaq, real people probably tweeting at these people, right? And
but they don't. But they could, because when they go back in the little bubble, they don't know how prevalent that they will just think, well, I'm being attacked. Because, Shaq is probably attacked all the time on Twitter for saying stupid things about basketball, right? So he'll probably think, well, same way he's dismissed them. Yeah. But if it is that people...
And to be fair, not to cut you, sorry. If he didn't take time then to sit down and understand what Kyrie was doing, why would he even take time?
No, because
with the tweets.
Yeah, exactly. Because people will be insulting him now. So now he'll be defensive. Is he likely to stop and say, wait, maybe I got this wrong? Or is he likely to say, well, Kyrie's stupid and all the people who supported him dotish too? That's what he'll do. What will make a difference, obviously, all the time, is if viewership drops. If the Brooklyn Nets was to do that and people was to start to protest outside the Brooklyn Nets Stadium, the kind of people who's paid to go them games ain't gonna stop paying, because that is a different class individuals. But if grassroots fans was to start burning the jerseys in front the stadium and say, hey, nah, we're not for this, dog. If they was to have Black Lives Matter protests, saying, hey, we stand with Kyrie.
See what?
Then all of a sudden,
Candace Owens and them ties up now, boy. Because now Black Lives Matter get quiet when they should have been here fighting for Kyrie. Candace Owens again, boy.
But listen, the Black Lives Matter is supposedly a George Soros funded organization, heavily funded by George Soros, supposedly, and he's Jewish. So they would not have come on in defense of Kyrie Irving.
Shucks.
That would not happen. No sort of no sort of well-funded NGO would do this. This would have to be black people themselves just saying, hey, listen, We done with that. If they was to make sure the hashtag trended, if they stopped going to games, if they protested in front of games, if they said, if players would just start to say, oh, hey, listen, nah, bro, I think we're trying to do to Kyrie is bullshit. And I not playing until, if LeBron had said that.
Yeah.
If LeBron had said, and the thing is, why LeBron could get away with it is that, he much more well loved than, especially by them same clowns you see on the TV. They worship LeBron. So if he said that, even if they wouldn't agree with Kyrie, we would force them to think differently about it.
Look into the situation even more.
You understand what I'm saying? And think, and people would feel more comfortable expressing. I don't know if you saw Jalen Rose, right? As I say, up to now, I didn't see that clip with him dissing Kyrie, but I ain't seen it didn't happen, but I didn't see that, right? But the other day, he was on one of them shows on ESPN, and they brought up the topic of Ime Udoka getting a job in Brooklyn, right? And during the segment, he says, but just now, I'm confused. We all know his name, right? We don't even know what he did really, but we know it involved a woman, another female, right? But we don't know who that female is. Why do we not know that person's name? We know his name has been, splattered about every newspaper, whatever. We don't know her name. Why is he said, I don't know if it's something about the law that I'm missing, but why don't we know her name? This seems weird to me. You could tell everybody in the panel was a little bit antsy. So they go to break, and then they come back, and there's a segment with Jalen Rose sitting behind a different backdrop by himself. Hi, I'm Jalen Rose. And earlier today, during a segment, I made a statement questioning why the woman, why. And unfortunately, I misunderstood the situation, and I'm sorry. What was the excuse he gave? He gave what he said, why? I can't remember what the excuse was, but it was something like that still will explain why we can't know the woman's name. I do understand, but I can't remember the excuse he gave. But it was just wow. So they pull him off one time.
They putting the black man back in line, brethren. Back in line.
Tell that man one time. Whoa. No, we ain't having that. Apologize one time, bro. One time. Dog, I listen, I don't know what kind of commitments these fellas have, how important them, because you would say to yourself, dog, that's what he's earned millions of dollars for. To be able to tell people when they tell them kind of things, say, fuck you, dog. Like I'm not doing that. But these people, like, they're so afraid of losing their status. Because this man would have made millions of dollars as a player. He makes millions of dollars as an analyst on ESPN. He has a podcast that's well listened to. He has a radio show. These fellas having paper, dog.
Well,
what is it? What it gonna take for you to say, hey? No, he could, to his his defense, he might say, no, well, maybe I did realize I made a mistake. But even if, you ain't getting me to do that. Like, not one time. Not one time.
You ain't get to process everything so fast.
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? And like, you put me in, we film a unique segment. It's time to say we came back from the break and the host bring it back up and they say, yeah, well, I didn't understand this aspect. No. It's like, no, Jalen Rose. You come here like you need naughty corner.
Yeah. So that means they take you off the set. More than likely, you might have because if them shows long, they don't really use wireless lavaliers. They when in studio try to use wired lavaliers, they had lavalier and had the wire on the reload. You might probably had to switch lavaliers. You probably had you understand? I just say things.
Somebody scripted that.
Yeah, somebody type up that in a teleprompter.
Scripted that
in a commercial break. Do you understand what I'm saying? Set it up, sit down, right? Make sure the camera come and set across it, because if there isn't a set they're using, they might have to swing a camera that way.
No, well, it is a set that they use, but it wasn't the set they were using for that show.
No, what I say, if it's not a set they're using in the show, at the
point in time,
that set might be lit, it might be. You understand? The camera not balanced with that set. All that happened. For you to apologize.
One time. Because we do it tomorrow, because the people watching the show today might not see it tomorrow. So do it one time. I wasn't doing that, bro. I was not doing that. So I don't know how much money these fellas had to have. But like I say, if there was more public support for Kyrie Irving, they wouldn't feel as comfortable saying the things that they're saying. And, people like Shaq and even Shannon Sharp on Fox, they will never back down. They'll never, because I said you can also tell that they don't like Kyrie Irving. They were one of them. They were kind of acting the same way when he didn't want to get a job. Like, just hush him out and take the job. I remember somebody who just was talking, was Stephen A. Smith was talking about, like how he leaned on his teammates and like, bro, this is more than basketball. Like we aren't fighting a war here. It's not like I'm leaving my military brothers to go and fight the Taliban by themselves. No. This is a fucking basketball game. It's a game we play, right? Yes, it's a lot of money on the line, and yes, we all get a fucking trophy and a ring, but it's a basketball game. If I believe that this thing is either number one, either going to harm me, or I think there's a likelihood it could harm me, or number two, I don't like the principle of being coerced into doing this. What the fuck basketball mean?
But I got to talk about the second one. So we against somebody having some sort of principle, or we against somebody trying to take a stand for something they believe in. You understand? We against that.
Yeah, right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I guess so that is what we see in everything just trickling down to now.
Yeah. And it goes to show that when they were pretending that the only thing that's okay when there's a cause that is cool or trendy. You understand what I'm saying? Because if when he didn't want to play in the bubble because of the George Floyd protest, nobody criticized him for that. Nobody, when he said he doesn't think he should be playing basketball because there's so many more important things going on.
And the thing is, that didn't even give him a credit now. Like that didn't give him a little chip.
You
understand?
But I mean, I think it did, but it just
I see it to be used now. Well, remember he is a man was standing with so. And we go try and understand his plight now.
None of that.